What's up, guys? This is Scott, and we just got back from Jobtread Connect 2026. And I want to show you one of the dashboards that we figured out while we were out there. I want to give a shout out to Morgan from Smith+Co. He helped us figure this out. So what we put together is a WIP report and a dashboard. And what a WIP report is it is a work in progress report. We need these three really important numbers: what's coming in, what's going out, and what's left. And we need to know those three numbers for the past, the present, and the future. So that's 9 numbers in total that we need. And so we're going to build out this report. And I'm going to start by building the job. We're going to use this data in the WIP report. If you want to get straight to building the dashboard, there should be a timestamp somewhere and a bookmark that you can skip ahead. Yeah, this will be it. Let's do it. All right. So this is going to be our sample item that we're going to use. We got a quantity of 1. And we believe that the total cost of this is going to be $7. And our extended price is going to be $10. This is what we're budgeting. We're going to go ahead and save these changes. We're going to use this, and we're going to do a vendor bid request. New document. All right, here's our sample bid request. We send it out to the sub, and they say, Scott, it's going to cost $6 is our bid to put this together. So we'll hit save, and then we'll hit submit. In our bid requests and our documents page, we receive this document and we say $6 works for us. Let's award the work. We'll come here and hit convert, and then we will award the proposal. 50-50. Approve, update. Great. Okay, so what you can see here is that we've got our cost, our price, and our bid request is now in. $6. We're under budget. Great. So we are going to do this. Now, maybe this is a more complicated budget, and we don't want to go through and change the extended costs. And if we do, type in $6, it's going to change our pricing, but maybe we've already kind of shown the customer some pricing. If we need to adjust, we can. But if you have, say, maybe this is a sub where it's a smaller part of the project, you've already won the work from the customer. And so now we don't want to change these numbers and type this in. So open in 7. We're going to keep it there. Next, we're going to give this document to the customer. Let's say new document, final proposal, create. So we see here that they've got one WIP port example, total bid of $10, $5 deposit, $5 final. We'll send this to them and they'll approve the work. Okay, so we've gone through and we've recorded payments for our customer invoice and to our subcontractor bills. So let's review our documents. We've got a bid request that was submitted by our vendor for $6. We have an approved order to the customer for $10. We have a draft invoice that's not to be paid by the customer yet, but they have paid $5 deposit. We awarded $6 to the subcontractor, and we've got a draft for their final payment, and we also have a paid vendor bill here for $3. And finally, we anticipated $7. There's going to be a difference there for a reason I'll show you in a minute. All right, so let's start building our report. So to start building our report, we're going to come to the top right corner up here, and we're going to hit this plus sign. You're going to see a screen that looks a lot like this. And you can control how many columns there are. And then I think vertically, there's always just space at the bottom to extend infinitely. So we're going to, for the purposes of this illustration, we're going to take it down to 1. And the reason we're going to do this is because we need to be able to see a large breadth of information. We're going to be seeing 10 columns of data vertically, and we want to be able to see all those numbers. So we'll take it to 1 column, and then we'll come to create tile, and we're going to create a report. We're going to name this tile WIP sample report. We're going to tile data source is going to be from jobs and no grouping by. Then we're going to go to filters, and we're going to add a filter, projected price. Projected price is greater than $0. So we're going to add some and statements, and it's because we want to filter out our jobs that are not design engagements. We really only want these WIP reports for in-production projects. And we have a custom field on jobs that is a pick list, and it includes a few stages that are for design engagements. So we're going to go ahead and filter these out, and here's how we're going to do this. We're going to say the projected price is greater than 0, and we're going to hit stage. We've got our custom field job stage, and we're going to say it is the planning stage. Our pipeline is new, sending an offer, our design stage, waiting proposal. Once it's planning, it's on the books. So it needs to be is planning. And then we're going to use or. And the reason we're going to use or instead of continuing doing and is that and is going to say it needs to be planning and these multiple job stages, which is going to be none of the jobs. And so we want to be able to capture that. I'm not going to go ahead and make all of these, but you get the idea that you can filter these out. And then I'm going to add one more filter. Customer name contains Sampleton. Great. Let's hit done and see what we've got. So we've got our first report, sample WIP report right there. Great. Now we're going to start adding some fields. There's an edit tile icon right here. We'll hit this, and we're going to go to fields. Now, before I start clicking a bunch of these boxes and building them out, what we're going to need to see is we need to know the in, the out, and then the remainder for past, which we're calling point of sale. You sold the job. Here's what's coming in. Here's what's going out. Here's what we're anticipating to have left. The present is here's how much we've gotten invoiced and collected minus how much money we've paid out and what's left. And then the future is here's how much money we have left to come in, how much we anticipate left to pay out, and then how much profit we anticipate to still see come through the door that hasn't been earned yet. So let's start adding some fields. We're going to start by typing in the price because we want to know how much we sold it for. Price, let's type it out. Looks like we got projected price, $10. Great. That's the number we're looking for. Then we got cost, and we're going to come down to committed costs. Okay, we sold it for 10. It's going to cost us 6. And then lastly, we want to know the profit. Let's type in profit. And we've got, but just so we can see the numbers, budgeted and projected profit. And I believe the difference between these guys here is that that budgeted number is pulling from our budgeted costs. So if we come here to our main, here we see we've got that we budgeted to pay $7. So that's why it's showing that we have $3 in the budget, but we know it's more because our bid request came in lower than what we budgeted. So we want to go off of the commitments that we signed versus like that budget column in the budget. And the way that we're going to create this is we're going to edit it, fields, let's take the projected off. We're going to create a formula column. We're going to call it projected profits. We're going to call it currency, and we're going to do price, projected price minus committed costs. We're going to hit save, and you see how it gives us the $4 of projected profit that we're anticipating. We're going to move that right there and uncheck that guy. If you're doing cost plus, this may be better for you. I think that as you are going through the projects, this will get updated when in the budget tab. If you go to the preset view for job costing, there's this checkbox called final. And that's basically treating this budget like a bucket of money. And whenever you've charged and billed everything against that line item, you can check this box and it finalizes some things. We don't use this, so there's people that with Jobtread that are much smarter to understand this. For our purposes, we're going to go with this. So let's go back to editing our tile. And we're going to throw that in there right there. Great. So we have our first section of 3 numbers. What's coming in, what's going out, what's left for the past. Now, I would like to have the wording a little bit easier, because once we add the next 6 columns, these names are going to get a little bit convoluted. So something I've done for myself personally is I've turned these fields that are already baked in fields with proper accounting, naming, like your accountants understand this. I'm not an accountant. And so I want to know that these 3 belong to the sale. So what I will do is I'm going to edit this projected price. I can't rename it. So I'm just going to add a formula, and I'm going to call it sold in. And I'm going to call it currency. And all it is projected price. I'm going to hit save. Then I'm going to move it up in this place. You see these 2 are the same number? I'm going to uncheck that. The next one, my committed costs. Let's make a custom field for this. Sold out. You guessed it. Currency, and the formula is just committed cost. Committed cost. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to uncheck this. Now, projected profits is already a custom column, so I'm just going to hit this edit icon, and I'm going to change it to sold and the difference. I want to know what the difference is. Save. So now we'll be able to identify that all 3 of these numbers belong to how the job looked when we sold the job. It's great. Now let's do the present tense. We need to start by understanding or finding how much money have we already billed the customer. How are paid invoices? How much have we collected so far? And there we go, $5. Awesome. Now I need to know what's coming out. So the way that I'll find that is I'm going to, again, the keyword I'm going to look for is cost. What kind of columns show up for cost? Looks like we got a percentage to cost complete, projected costs. I believe actual costs is what I'm looking for. There it is, $3, because we've already paid $3. And then lastly, what is the difference between those 2? Cash flow, maybe? Maybe cash flow gives us the number. Okay, cash flow does give us this number of $2. So cash flow, since it's built in, it's got this nice color green to it, and that could be really helpful. That might be the thing that you need. Sometimes if that box that was checked that I showed you in the budget earlier, that can affect this cash flow number. So for the report that I've created, I just need to know straight, here's what we got paid, here's what we sent out, the difference. And so I'm actually going to create a custom column for that. And I'm going to just use a formula. I'm going to uncheck cash flow, and I'm going to add a custom formula. And we're going to say profit so far. We'll just name it that for now. It's currency. And we're going to go to formula. We're going to say what was paid. Okay. Paid invoices minus actual cost. Save. And it looks like it gives us our $2. So since this is a formula, the paid, actual, and profit, those are like, in a way, they're connected, and the math should always make sense. Great. Let's hit done. And let's rename these guys real quick. So we're going to hit edit, back to our fields. Our workaround is to add a formula column, and we're going to call it, I don't know, like year to date in. And that year to date that has come in is paid invoices, save, and a type is required. We're going to pick currency, and we're going to hit save. Let's move that up in this place. Uncheck paid invoices. Let's add another for actual cost. We're going to call that year to date out. Type, currency, formula, actual cost. And there it is. Okay, save. We're going to move that up, unselect the actual cost, and we're going to edit the name here to year to date difference. save. Done. Great. We're 2/3 of the way there. We've got how much money we sold the job for, how much it's going to cost us, the difference. Currently, the present tense, we've collected $5, we've paid $3, we've made $2. Awesome. Back to edit. All right, now to do our future tense. And this is what the financials are going to look like for the remainder of the project looking forward. We're going to go to our fields. And we are going to start with what we're expecting to come in. Add formula. We're going to name it. We're just going to name it in right here. Expected in. We're going to take that projected price minus paid invoices. And that is going to pull the numbers that are, this is how much we sold. See, these are the fields that we're using earlier in the columns. That really helps ensure that the math is right. And then paid invoices. And then we're going to hit currency and save it. So is there something in there? There it is. Okay. Paid invoices, save. So we have a remainder of $5 left to bill. The math checks out. Expected in. Our next field, we need to know how much is left to pay. So we're going to take our committed cost, new formula, expected out, currency. We're going to say committed cost. This is how much money we've promised, minus actual cost. And that should give us the number that we need right there. That's expected out. And then finally, all right, so for this last one, we're going to build it in steps. We're going to start by saying we need to figure out how much left do we owe. So we'll go to committed. And then we will subtract actual cost. Then we'll hit save. Okay, great. $3. That's how much left we owe our sub. Let's go back into that formula. Now we need to take what's left to be paid and we need to subtract it from what's left to be invoiced. So we're going to put some parentheses here. And what that does is it forces that math to be done first before we subtract it from the actual, from the left to be invoiced. So I'm going to see if there's like a, I don't know, type in invoice, see if there's something here. Open invoices to be invoiced. So whether the invoice is created or not, this is going to be the number that is left to be invoiced based off of how much we awarded the work for or won the work for. So we're going to say that and we're going to minus the actual. See what that gets us. Beautiful. It's $2, which is exactly how much we have left to make. So now you see we've got this pretty straightforward report, how we created custom naming for the columns if you're not an accountant and you need to look at it at a glance and know what that number means. We got the name, how much we sold it for, what it's going to cost, and how much we anticipate to make. Here's how much in the middle of the project we've collected, how much we've paid out, and how much we've made so far. And then here's projected, what we still anticipate to bill and get from the customer, how much we have left to pay out, and how much money we have left to make. So this is our very simple, straightforward WIP report for fixed price projects. I hope this was helpful and have fun building dashboards. Thanks.